Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Chicago Clash. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Etchy. Joining me is Gabe. Gabe, how you doing? Are you
doing
excited
great?
for more
How are
games? Yeah, I'm excited. I have been off casting for 1 hour, and now I'm ready to get back into it. I'm super excited. We are finally showing the 3-0 player at the event, Tyler Mathews. Really quickly, we can show the group stage bracket. Some extra matches have played out because because we staggered the rounds, there was extra time. So some players just kind of did their match early so they have more time to get lunch or food or whatever. So right now you can see a lot of Group B is already shaken out fully. So right now I think we're just waiting on this Group A match. And I think one actually round 5 match also started already. So we'll get results pretty quickly there. I believe that was the Hector and Colin match. So now we're into the game. Tyler versus Connor. It's going to be that Ancient Box deck versus Arceus, Vulpix, and Aerodactyl.
Yeah, a bit of a David and Goliath matchup here. Tyler sitting at 3-0, Connor at 1-2. Both are playing some very unique decks.
Yeah, the Ancient Box here is kind of the complete Ancient Box package. It has basically everything. You got the Flutter Mains for Lost Box matchups, but more importantly, you also have the Slitherwing, which I imagine is actually really good in this matchup. Being able to just one-shot an Arceus V out of basically nowhere seems pretty good. All you need is a Sod attach and a hand attach. And then you're good to go if it's not evolved fully in time. And then you also have the Roaring Moons to clean up stuff as well. So very devastating deck. Tyler is going first here. I imagine Connor won the coin flip because... Or actually, no.
No, Tyler must have won the coin flip
first.
here.
Yeah. Which makes sense, totally fair.
Knowing Connor's affinity for Arc as well, it makes sense on Tyler's side wanting to go first.
Yeah. Even if your deck can have these powerful turn 2 going first attacks, or turn 1 going second attacks, just depriving Connor of that turn 1 attach glory is a very powerful benefit in and of itself.
And we're seeing two very versatile decks here. Both of these decks just have so many options. On Connor's side, you have that Arceus, the Vulpix, the Aerodactyl, even a Pidgeot can work in with an attack. And on Tyler's side, you have the Koraidon, you have the Roaring Moon, and there's just... Every player has so many different routes they can go. So it's going to be interesting to see which they decide to go with.
Yep, and Connor leading the Pidgey there. I don't remember what Connor's second deck is. Do you remember off the top of your head?
That's the Turbo Hands deck.
Turbo Hands. So even though the Pidgey is here, Tyler knows it's not Zard or anything like that because it is open archetype. Our players know the archetypes, just not the exact list. Tyler's turn pretty slow there. Just got a conceal cards and an attach, but still in a strong position to potentially knock out something easily next turn. I believe there was a Sada in hand ready to go as well. So now it is over to Connor's turn. Weighing his options, trying to figure out what to do here, was able to at least bench the Arceus. It does have Irida. Irida's an interesting inclusion that you don't really see that often in these Arceus lists.
Yeah, so I'd actually been working with Connor a little on this list. This deck plays a 4 count of that Irida card.
4 count.
So it's something where you can search out the Vulpix or the Vulpix V or the VSTAR if you're setting that up. And it also allows him to get a few more pieces, whether that's a rare candy to set up the Pidgeot, you can get a Nest Ball or an Ultra Ball to set up the board. Or even in some of those matchups where you want to go into the lone Vulpix, Connor even plays a copy of Energy Search that we see there in the prizes to try to get the last remaining pieces.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Seems like you have a very good odds of actually hitting turn 1 attached with that as well. Yeah. So it seems very powerful. Let's see. Connor is playing the classic A-Spec, the Prime Catcher that we're seeing all the time. And this is the first time we might see the Awakening Drum A-Spec over on Tyler's side. This is a card that synergizes very specifically with ancient Pokemon, allowing you to just draw a lot of cards potentially with an item card, which is pretty rare in the Pokemon TCG. There's other item draw cards coming out soon, but for the most part, anything that's like this powerful as an item usually ends your turn. So, the fact that this doesn't is really good, but you do need a lot of those ancient Pokemon in play. And we are seeing Irida grab that Alolan Vulpix V-Star along with an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, to do a bit of a double take earlier when I saw Tyler playing that Awakening Drum. It was something that is a little something you're not expecting to see there.
Yeah, I think a lot of lists are still leaning towards the Prime Catcher for Ancient Box, but it's a card that synergizes very well with the deck. Tyler has obviously tested this a lot and deems it worthy and more important than the Prime Catcher. Instead of relying on Boss and Counter Catcher, the normal kind of standard gusting options, and saying that's sufficient. Putting another Pidgey down on the bench for Connor, and another Arc as well, being scared about any sort of potential like Slitherwing knockout like we were saying earlier. But without Prime Catcher, the odds of that happening are pretty low.
Yeah, and the thing too with Connor is he's going to be trying to set up these Arceus and use those 2 copies of Professor Turo's Scenario in his deck, being able to kind of try to outlast in this matchup, as Tyler tends to go for those 2-hit knockouts until the end of the game or until that Slitherwing hits the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, you helped work on this list. Have you tested this matchup to any large degree?
Not a bunch, but it's a lot of hitting it here and there. And,
Right.
And it seemed pretty solid for Arceus on paper, but granted, I wasn't testing against someone with the expertise and know-how that Tyler has, and with the Slitherwing too, it's more of a teched out list that seems a bit more refined.
Yeah, a key point with this Roaring Moon is that its attack does 10 more damage for each ancient card in your discard pile, and right now there's only 1 in there, so this Roaring Moon's not really doing any damage. Unfortunately, the Koraidon can at least get some decent damage, and there's also only a Pidgey with 50 HP in the active, so it doesn't require much work to deal with it. Tyler, now deciding how to sequence out the rest of this turn, is going to attach the Ancient Booster, which is a very key tool card in this list. Usually you see a lot of them in the list too, just to get more of those ancient cards in the discard pile, but giving you more HP, making these single prizers up to 200 HP, which is absurd.
Oh, yeah.
Super, super good, and one of the deck's biggest strengths.
And it's so relevant with the math that Connor has on his side of the board.
Yeah.
Arceus typically hitting for that 180 damage, that stock standard. Trinity Nova does 200, but usually have a double turbo attached. So it really kind of throws a wrench in Connor's game plan of wanting to go for that traditional 180 hit.
How many energy searches are in the list?
It's just 1.
Okay. I was like, why did Connor miss energy attached last
the
turn?
energy
Because
search
it's
was right there in the
Yeah,
prizes.
that's unfortunate. So a pretty tough start for Connor here. Not being able to get that energy attachment means you just got to hope you have a double turbo and you top deck it, or you can support her into it. Is going to Ultra Ball the Boss's Orders and the Alolan Vulpix VSTAR. Going to grab the Arceus VSTAR. Can do stuff like Starburst for DTE and whatever else after that.
At least get a Trinity Charge
At
on
least
the
get a
board
Trinity Charge
potentially and
in.
try to set up.
But I know with this deck, a lot of times you want to use your Starburst to just get your Pidgeot online immediately. So you could do both, really. Because
Exactly.
Quick Search doesn't have the limitation of Starburst. You can do it as much as you want once per turn. It's not like once per game the way Arceus V-Star's Starburst is. So plenty of opportunities to do that and can combo them together. Connor debating to evolve the active or the bench one. Downside of doing the active one is you can't Trinity Charge with it. Is going to pop the Starburst there, grab any 2 cards that he would like to, and that is all he can do with that for the turn. We'll see what he grabs here if he prioritizes evolving the Pidgeot or not. Looking at the deck as well, seeing what else is in there.
So what he ends up selecting, I would have thought he would have wanted to evolve that bench Arceus
Right,
and
yeah, just at
potentially
least
go for the Trinity Charge, but opts for a different play potentially. We'll see what he ends up deciding.
Yeah, it might also have like a switch in hand or something. Is there switches in this deck? Or is it,
Yeah, the deck has
there's
a
a
switch.
switch. Yeah,
Maybe
so-
even a prime catcher, try to trap something else.
Sure.
By a turn. Yeah, that's what it's gonna. That's
Yeah.
what it's gonna be.
Prime Catcher trying to get that Greninja just stuck there. A lot of energy is in play already, so definitely validity to the play. Hope we can try to buy time, which makes sense with how behind you kind of were from missing turn 1 that badly. You know, gotta do what you gotta do. Unfortunate to burn the Prime Catcher that early, but Judge effectively boss is a pretty good play to try to make up time.
Yeah, it feels like a 2 supporter in 1 turn play
Right,
when
exactly.
it's not with that prime catcher, but able to potentially trap that Greninja in the active. Granted, Tyler plays a fair amount of energies, but almost like, hey, I'm not going to use this later potentially, so trying to at least buy a turn wherever he can.
And gets Ultra Ball, Rare Candy. Could immediately get the Pidgeot now as well.
And would leave him with 1 card in his hand, but it would be any card he could possibly dream of.
Can just grab Iono Judge next turn, totally fine. Replenish the hand, do even more disruption. Looking at Tyler's hand, there's not an immediate out to getting this.
There is a vessel.
There is. Okay.
Yes,
okay, there's a vessel. There's
yeah.
also Explorer's Guidance, so Tyler can have a very explosive turn next turn. And I think we're seeing the Trinity Charge, or was that the Ultra? No, I think it might be a Trinity Charge. Yeah, he's just going to hold the Ultra Ball this turn.
Potentially some resources he just can't afford to get rid of at that point. But Tyler, someone who hasn't built up that discard pile just yet for that Roaring Moon, is going to look to really have an explosive turn and set up for that big Roaring Moon attack as the late game progresses.
Is it how many Pidgeot EXs in the list?
Pidgeot EX, it's a 202 line.
202, okay. So there is one more, even though one is prized. Still plenty of room for that. And now we're going over to Tyler's turn. He's going to start with that Earthen Vessel. Did top deck the energy, so it was fine there regardless. Go ahead and shuffle up the
An
deck
embarrassment
again.
of riches on Tyler's end.
Yeah, for real. Can lead into concealed cards, can get the free retreat, and potentially can try to knock out this this Arceus V pretty soon here. Now, the main issue with that, though, is the only way to actually do it is with Slitherwing here. There's not really a way to get the Roaring Moon, baby Roaring Moon damage up all the way. There is the bigger Roaring Moon in the list that can do 220 with Calamity Storm. You also have Frenzy Gouging still, but you really don't need to do that, be that aggressive this early. So we're going to see that concealed cards come out first.
It's going to be interesting to see how Roaring Moon develops into this format, something that had its own archetype but is now kind of playing second fiddle as post-rotation happens. And Tyler seems to like the card in this deck. I've seen him using it a few times in the field, and it's seemed to bring him a good amount of success so far.
Yeah, I've seen so many different kind of variations of Ancient Box, but some kind of feel more like just Roaring Moon decks. Like old format Roaring Moon kind of repurposed with the new cards. And they both, it seems like the deck kind of is still very far away from like the perfect form. It feels very much like Roaring Moon at the start of Paradox Rift format, where people didn't really take it seriously, but it's got more and more refined over time, and a really good version got found, and I think we might be getting close to that sort of thing with Ancient Box in general here.
Yeah, we saw Ross Cawthon really break it open in the last format. Maybe Tyler will be the one to do it in this format. Maybe this list is just a few cards off from really being that perfect concoction. And we've seen with so many more Japanese events now, too, than ever, before we were able to get access to the set, that the format's really developed, and we have more of a clearer picture than we would previously.
It looks like the Explorer's Guidance was played here, so weighing which options to discard. I think it's the first time we've seen this card on stream today, too. You look at the top 6 cards in your deck and put 2 of them in your hand, discard the other cards. So it sounds like a pretty pricey thing to do. You know, you're just discarding 4 cards in your deck, kind of milling yourself. But it's very important, very much synergizes with the Roaring Moon's Vengeance Fletching attack, just allowing you to discard more of those ancient cards. And even got the Awakening Drum off this turn, too. So Tyler just building up a monster hand after that.
It just doesn't feel right. He's got 6 cards in hand. He's drawing 5 more, and it's not even a supporter. What is going on?
Yeah, easy draw 5 there. Is going to Ultra Ball now. And chose not to bench Slitherwing or the Roaring Moon EX, so it's just going to be taking a 2-shot here, unless somehow a lot of cards got in the discard that I didn't see.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like it. We'll be going for the 2-shot, and I think that's okay. For Tyler, you see him take the first prize. He's already been the first one to get an attack off. At this point, he's 2 attacks ahead. So if he's 2-shotting at the beginning, it's not too big of a deal as long as he can work in a 1-shot at one point.
Right. So looking through again with that Ultra Ball. He's cut through a lot of the deck really fast here. His deck is very thin, so kind of the tricky thing with decks like this and like Roaring Moon past format is, you know, trying to make sure you don't burn yourself out of resources too fast, too early. And this deck, it's much scarier with that because you are trying to actually mill yourself to some degree to get that damage numbers up. Is going to attach Retreat here for Tyler, and I think we're just going to see a Primordial Beatdown for 150 damage.
It's going to be up to Connor to respond. We'll see what he goes with. Presumably is having to attack with that Arceus VSTAR on the bench, hitting for that big 200 damage number. But also he could go for a Turo. We see he has the outs to Candy Pidgeot, so maybe potentially just trying to undo all of Tyler's work here. Yeah,
Turo is going to be his saving grace here, and trying to just cheat turns back from Tyler here is his best bet because, yeah, like you said, he's basically 2 attacks behind already. Yeah. Has to make up time somewhere. The judge play did not make up any time whatsoever, so definitely has to do something here. And how many Turos is it in the list?
It's 2.
2. Okay, so that's pretty good.
You also got to look at it from Connor's perspective a little here. Now, seeing Tyler having this monster hand that he's building up, might prioritize manipulating that, but it's just going to be up to Connor to see what he finds out, and immediately asks for that hand count after you saw that big Awakening drum.
Makes a lot of sense. Tyler has to do the fun thing of between turns count your actual ancient Pokemon so you know what's going on.
Let's give me some Vespiquen flashbacks.
Yeah, this is how long ago was Vespiquen?
Oh gosh, 2016 I think was its heyday.
Right, and can you explain what the attack for the Vespiquen was in comparison to this?
So Vengeance Fletching we see on the Roaring Moon is 70, plus that additional 10 for each ancient card in your discard pile. The Vespiquen of old was stage 1 for just 2 colorless energies. You could use the double colorless energy at that point. 20 plus 10 for each Pokemon in your discard pile. So that's a deck that would play, 26 to 30 Pokemon, 25 to 30 roughly, in most of its iterations. And again, Tyler, with this Ancient Box engine, it's much more it's much better for his consistency when you're able to play these ancient supporters, these ancient items, so it has a whole engine behind it.
Yeah, we're seeing that Pidgeot EX come down with that rare candy. Looking through the deck now, I think we are going to see that Turo play. Makes a lot of sense here. And yeah, now Tyler's in a kind of a tough spot because that Arceus VSTAR basically can only die to Frenzy Gouging at this point. Slitherwing only does 120, so ×2 doesn't knock it out. Can take an Arceus V on the bench, but hard to get that. You have to get the boss down, and kind of catcher won't be active.
A Sada and plus a way to get it.
It's hard.
He'll probably need a turn of sitting on the bench before it happens.
Is going to just manually retreat. Looks like maybe Turo wasn't grabbed. He's going to boss instead.
It's a very interesting line from Connor. Not what I expected at all. He's taken the knockout already on the Koraidon, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this play from Connor, but he seems to know this deck inside and out. He's definitely well known in the Chicago area for being the Arceus guy. So I will trust his take on this.
Yeah, maybe the thought is just trying to supremely limit draw power. Awakening Drum already burned. Greninja, if you take that out, then next Iono, next...
Yeah.
Do you play Roxanne? No, just Iono. Next
Shockingly
Iono will do
enough,
way more.
I think it was only 4 or 5 cards in the hand for Tyler. Was able to play out that hand really well after the Awakening Drum.
For sure. Now, back on over to Tyler's turn. We'll see how this plays out now. Is going to go ahead and Sada. Yeah, I'm not sure... the Turo line from here for Connor, right? How do you approach this? Like, obviously you attack, Tyler attacks, Turo pick up the Arceus, losing 3 energy in the process by doing that. You can evolve the other Arceus, sure, but that one has a double turbo on it, and then and if you Trinity Nova attach to the damaged one, then you're still in the same situation where it's going to go up and die immediately.
Yeah, you're going to have to swing with this one, I think, this turn. If you're Connor, that Prime Catcher already down as well, so there's no way to gust around this. The only other potential option is the Lost Vacuum that Connor could go for if he wants to try to get rid of this.
Get it whenever. Yeah.
But then there's just another booster capsule staring you down on the bench. So I feel like he almost has to attack, go for this 200 damage Trinity Nova. And it's going to be up to this Pidgeot as well. Pidgeot's going to find any card Connor wants. It's going to be up to him to determine what the best line of play here is.
Yeah, very interested to see what Connor decides to do in these couple other turns. One thing I want to mention, too, is Aerodactyl VSTAR is in this list. Why?
Lugia. Lugia is the most simple answer, but it has a lot of different uses. Lugia being the main one, using that Aerodactyl VSTAR's VSTAR effect. Ancient Star, being able to garner that ability where Lugia cannot use their V-Star effect to get out their Archeops and subsequently power up their board. But it's also just very helpful into that Turbo Hands deck. If you're looking at it, in something like Arctina, it was more of a dead card for Ryan in the previous round. If he was to go into that Turbo Hands matchup, because he's already able to one-shot that. But with a deck like Vulpix, where you're more trying to trap things and prevent damage, it kind of leaves you with a bit of a struggle into that Turbo Hands matchup. So something big that can hit for weakness, efficiently one-shot these Iron Hands, while also being able to tank a hit in most cases from them is very relevant.
Yeah, unfortunately for this tournament, nobody brought Lugia, so it wasn't the most super effective card in all these Arceus lists, but...
perhaps into some of those Turbo Hands if he hits them.
sometimes can be relevant there, for sure. I think the Turo was getting played, and now Connor's to the side. By picking this one up instead of the other one, is going to pick up the damaged one on the bench instead.
Yeah, I like this play here.
Going to rebench it. Going to attach double Turo to that one as well. So now those are both locked at 180 damage, and it's kind of forced now to get those vacuums just to get knockouts on these guys.
There's only one vacuum in the list as well, so he's going to have one option. I'm not sure how many of those booster capsules Tyler is playing. But
usually
if he can
it's like 3 to 4.
If he can flood the board with those, Connor's facing an uphill trek.
All right, the Vengeful Fletching damage should be, or Vengeance Fletch. I think the pre-translation was like Vengeful or something, but Vengeance Fletching is already getting up there.
Vengeance in there somewhere. There's Vespiquen Be Revenge Flareon before that was, I believe, Vengeance. So
gotcha. Makes sense, I guess. You're getting revenge for your fallen Pokemon, except it's also your fallen supporters and ancient booster energy capsules.
Getting revenge for the things that have gone extinct. And
your dinosaurs, all good. So but that's the damage is getting up there for that. Obviously, we don't have the exact count for how many things are in there, but we can find out at some point if it hits an undamaged Arceus soon. Connor here needs to get those Arceuses evolved sooner rather than later, but has to like get these other things in the Pidgeot. Is kind of pressured to get other things, so hasn't been able to even try to evolve those, and had to also Ultra Ball a lot of other supporters too. Before getting the Pidgeot, had to Ultra Ball Airy and Iono, and I think also was already down like another Iono before that with an Ultra Ball. So
it's almost like a soft living off the top deck
Yeah,
for Connor, where
yeah.
he has that, but he's going to have to get one necessary piece with Pidgeot every turn. So it's hoping to top deck something else that he can pair with it.
So we did see that Super Rod go down for Tyler. The Greninja is back and is going to immediately Ultra Ball to get it back one more time, and also put another Ancient card in the discard pile with that Professor Sada's Vitality.
Got one back, so he had to replace it to maintain that count.
Mm-hmm. Shuffling up now. Definitely has the KO lined up with this Roaring Moon. Regardless, there's way too many Ancient cards in the discard pile to get this Arceus VSTAR done. And yeah, Tyler's just going to keep relying on these Roaring Moons to just kind of keep taking knockouts. Totally fine.
Yeah, you see him accelerating those energies, drawing 3 cards. Is this a Welder deck, or am I in the wrong timeline?
We are 2016. When's Welder?
2018, 2019.
You're all over the place.
Seeing
Counting
Tyler
out those
lay them out.
Ancients, yeah.
4, 8, 12, 16?
Oh my, that's got to be
230 now is the
that's
number.
An Arceus KO already. Arceus V KO.
Only 5 away from a straight up KO on the V-Star or on that Pidgeot EX.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation where like he has the counter catcher. He's debating if he should do it. It's one of those situations where they both have double turbos on it, so like you might actually be better off just KOing the Arceus V-Star in front of you. Honestly,
yeah.
Is going to counter catcher the Arc, just preventing that from evolving up and making things harder, getting the free knockout. But that does mean the Roaring Moon does die the next turn, but you might just be happy with your position as is, as Tyler, and just be fine with that.
Yeah, Tyler knows he has somewhat of an easier path now at the very least. Kind of maybe either feels confident in his ability to get 5 more by the time he has to deal with a fully powered up Arceus V-Star with no damage on it, or just believe that the prize trade is going to favor him in the end in a spot like this.
So yeah, Pidgeot, quick search happening right now. Could Turo pick up that damaged Arceus V-Star and easily deal with the... basically evolve the other one on the bench and get rid of the damaged one and make things a little bit harder for Tyler. Has to go for a Frenzy Gouging to get an easy KO, otherwise has to 2-shot things. And with the way this game is kind of played out, Tyler's been forced down a 7-prize map. Has to take 2 2-prize knockouts here just to take the last 3 prize cards, because Connor's not going to put another single prizer in play. I don't think there is another Pidgey even in the deck. So
yeah,
there is nothing. There's Radiant Gardevoir, I guess, but that's not coming in. So
no, not going to be too relevant in a spot like this.
No, not at all. But because of that, Tyler has to work kind of hard and has to at least do 2 attacks, or at least if the Arceus V evolves, has to at least do 3 attacks, even with Roaring Moon, unless you double Roaring Moon. Yeah, so a lot of work has to be done here. Did get the Evo for the Arc V-Star, is not going to Turo pick up the other one, which might be fine. Your opponent just burned a counter catcher. I don't know exact counts, but...
So I really like this play here, actually, from Connor. Setting this up for a knockout just needs the Lost Vacuum, but also prevents Tyler from building up his Lost Zone, or not his Lost Zone, his discard pile, rather, with all those Ancient Pokemon to be big enough and increase the damage. So Connor kind of saying, I'll deal with that a little later, but for right now, I'm just going to limit your power. Yeah, if that gets KO'd, +2 into the discard pile plus the supporter, that's already 260, 2 more, and it's an easy knockout on the Arceus V-Star. So smart play from Connor to buy a little bit of time here. But yeah, the one-hit KOs are coming pretty soon. Tyler will probably just have it next turn and then win the game with a single attack with these baby Roaring Moons. Not even needing to show a Roaring Moon EX this entire game. Yeah, at that point, does that one-shot potential really matter? Connor's going to have 2 damaged Arceus and... Oh, and yeah, I think Tyler's going to get it anyway. Earthen Vessel on a Roaring Moon. Has Explorer's Guidance. That's the entire... there's plenty of cards in the deck. So, is now at 250 damage. And is going to try to see if Explorers plus just 2 more cards off the Explorers, and then that's a knockout. Yeah, what is it? You said 250 now. Explorers would get it to 260, and then
Just get
two.
There's enough ancient cards in the deck for that. So
Wow, maybe I need to stop being such an ancient box hater. I thought this deck was much weaker, but Tyler's proven me wrong. Absolutely.
And Tyler has a habit of proving people wrong about these lists that people think are inconsistent or bad or whatever. A lot of people did not have faith in Anti-Valiant once they were testing a lot after LAIC because they're like, oh, this deck's too inconsistent, blah, 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 blah. And then Tyler just goes 8 for 8 on day 2s with it, and no problem.
Yeah. We see Tyler playing a lot of wacky lists historically, too, between like the Path to the Peaks in Standard Lost Box and his belief in that Rayquaza amazing rare deck.
Sure.
So we see him kind of putting a lot of these decks on the map, and perhaps we'll see that again with this, or with his next deck cooking up, which is Gouging Fire that we might be seeing.
Yeah, we might be seeing that very shortly here. Dark Patch going down.
I do believe he got the 2 ancient cards off of that Explorer's Guidance as well. So we will be seeing a knockout here, and Connor got to have his back against the wall. And do you see a line for him?
No. Yeah, the thing with this deck too is it's so easy to set up your follow-up attackers. They're so low maintenance. Just 2 energy. You have plenty of dark patches. You're constantly playing Sadas too. It's so easy to have this board state where there's just 3 Roaring Moons ready to attack. Energy on both 1 retreat Pokemon, so easily retreat if something tries to get stalled or something. Super easy, super charge-upable kind of deck, you know?
That Pokegear is not an ancient card, Tyler. So we do see the 21 count in the discard. Perfect numbers. And yeah, this game's been all Tyler so far.
Pidgeot EX going into the active. Lost Vacuum is in the hand, is going to do that. See if we can get something good off the prizes here. I did not see what it was. Connor has no faith in it after that.
Was it the Iono? Perhaps? No, yeah, Connor sees the writing on the wall, scoops it up. So we will be seeing a game 2 now. Tyler with that Gouging Fire deck that he'll be switching to.
Yeah, excited to see that in action. Excited to talk about it. But before we get into that, while they go ahead and set up, I want to do a quick reminder of our sponsors here at Chicago Clash. Chicago Clash is brought to you by Dead Draw Gaming. If you're looking for singles from Temporal Forces, you can grab what you need over at deaddrawgaming.com. If you're enjoying the tabletop content here, Dead Draw Gaming's YouTube channel has even more. We also have the relaunched Dead Draw Gaming podcast, where I bring on various experts from the team every episode to help you better understand the meta. If you subscribe to their YouTube channel before the next podcast episode, you'll be entered into a Paldean Fates ETB giveaway. And they also have a new Patreon that you can join to support their content. Patreon supporters get access to bonus videos and discounts on Cutter Tap and the Dead Draw Gaming store. Links will be in the chat. Chicago Clash is also brought to you by Cutter Tap. Cutter Tap has tons and tons of Pokemon TCG articles written by extremely skilled players. Their articles cover deck analysis, matchup descriptions, rogue decks, metagame discussion, high-level theory, and so much more. You can see Piper recently put out a Control Freak article, basically talking about theory and control lists. Has a lot of really cool lists in there and kind of ranks them for how she thinks they stack up going into EUIC. Definitely recommend giving it a read if you're either thinking of playing Control or are terrified of it like I am. Michael Davidson, also one of our competitors, who just won on stream last round, wrote an in-depth article on chien-pao and how it fares in the new format. And for our ancient box lovers, which is very relevant here, Hunter Drabeck just put out 2 whole articles going super in-depth on it, the deck and its matchups. So if you want to play it like Tyler, definitely check those out and more over at cutortap.com. Thank you again for sponsoring this event and making independent Pokemon TCG tournaments possible.
Yeah, Tyler won me over now. Maybe Tanner can too. I'll have to check that one out afterward.
Yeah, super in-depth articles. Not just one article, but 2. But yeah, I'm honestly going into... So we actually recorded the DGG podcast a couple days ago, and I totally forgot to talk about Ancient Box because I just didn't write in the notes. But I am legitimately, like, even before today, I'm legitimately scared of the deck because I think a lot of people are, like, liking it and just liking playing it. And this Fluttermane card scares me very much. It was not relevant in that last matchup, but it is very good against all these Lost Box deck, and that's probably a big reason why.
Got to shudder a bit just seeing it on the screen there, right?
Yeah, the fact that Tyler plays this in both of his lists probably is why he's 3-0 in the first place. Just rolling all these Lost Tinas and Lost Boxes, no problem. One more thing I want to mention, too, is we are doing a community-funded prize pool for the event. Exclamation point prize pool in the chat. I'd really appreciate if you could support and just kind of show that you all want to see more content like this. I want to put more events if there is more interest, and getting prize pool money is very hard. So if you can contribute anything, even like $5, I will read your name at the end of the event and thank you personally. And we'd really appreciate it to get the players the money they deserve for going through all this effort for this fun little event that doesn't give them championship points. So
Yeah, there was some League Cups today, but this was definitely the priority amongst our players.
I inadvertently helped make that League Cup easier today because I took all the good players.
Gave someone some 50 points for much less trouble.
But yeah, Gouging Fire is a deck that just won a Tailand,
yes.
Thailand tournament. So we're going to see it in action here. We are seeing the Fluttermane lead. Unfortunately, Fluttermane, I don't think does.
Sure, this is an ancient box again?
Yeah. Yes. It technically stops an Iron Bundle inactive. But no, you can't Iron Bundle inactive. So it stops an Iron Crown damage bump, but there's no Psychic, so it's not relevant.
Yeah.
That is the point I'm getting to. But yeah, Gouging Fire, what do you know about it?
Yeah, so Gouging Fire, the card that is on everyone's mind, has that big Blaze Blitz attack. 3 energies, 260 damage, and it can't use that attack again until it leaves the active spot. But this has been a card that Tyler's been using effectively all day. We mentioned before seeing that Entei Valiant deck as a prominent play for Tyler, almost just taking that Entei, which he also plays in the deck, and making it a little better. Having that 260 number paired with the Iron Valiant, its Tachyon Bits effect, being able to put those 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and the numbers that it sets up are beautiful.
Yeah, this deck seems like it's one that's very strong in this closed deck list open archetype format, because if you just tell me I'm going against Gouging Fire, I'm not going to expect like everything else in this list.
What is happening? Players are picking up their cards.
Is the game
over?
over?
We were talking about the Gouging Fire, and all of a sudden they're done. What happened?
Oh, I guess we'll hear what happened shortly here.
I was too busy getting excited about all these random tricks that...
Oh, Tyler got donked. Okay. Yeah, I was not even seeing that. All right. So that's a quick game 2, and now we're going on to game 3. I hope you see more Gouging Fire this time.
Yeah. So it'll be Connor rolling back with that Arceus deck, and Tyler rolling up with this. We had so much hype behind this Gouging Fire deck, how cool it was, just to see about 30 seconds of it.
It's so unfortunate, too, because this Fluttermane is literally the only thing that easily dies to the Miraidon.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that is super donkable in this matchup, and just happened to go through that. But
for Pokemon that you so often want to start in so many matchups, too, it must have been Tyler saying, oh, yeah, I get to start this guy. Oh, look at the rest of this.
And again, this is 2-deck Conquest, so that counts as Connor's win.
Yeah.
Connor has to immediately go back to playing Arceus now.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be complaining too much about that. Connor was not having the best of luck with this Turbo Hands deck in the field today. Opened up 0-3 with it in individual games until he finally took one.
In the funniest way possible, so.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to see back on the Arceus side, and these tricks are pretty effective against something like Gouging Fire.
Yeah, looking at all the Gouging Fire techs here, obviously...
Well, they're not for Gouging Fire decks necessarily, but decks that happen to be good against Gouging Fire.
Gouging Fire, the cards in Gouging Fire.
Okay, of course.
Obviously, Gouging Fire 260 plus attacking on bits, easy knockout on literally anything that Connor puts out. Alolan Vulpix VSTAR's attack is not relevant at all in this matchup unless Tyler is forced to attack with Iron Leaves or something. And then on top of that, Tyler also has the Delphox, which can only come really into play if there's multiple weakened Pokemon in play. Delphox also can snipe Pidgeys if they don't get evolved fast enough.
Yes.
Very valid. And yeah, he's going to primarily be using this Magma Basin to charge up those fire energies and get things rolling as fast as possible. And does, of course, still play the classic Entei from Entei Valiant, allowing you to just attack for low energy and draw some extra cards with Leaf-footed.
Yeah. Another key thing, though, with all these fire Pokemon is that they are, at the end of the day, weak to water.
Yes.
So that's going to be a key factor where that Vulpix can come in, and even where that Aerodactyl can come in and potentially just take some knockouts straight up. So a lot of these attackers happen to be good. But the question is really going to be whether Connor can effectively set them up in time.
All right, let's see if we can get a real game this time. Arceus start for Connor. Tyler starting Greninja and is going to bench his own Gouging Fire. It is time for this thing to come out. It also has a weaker attack, which might or may not come up at any point. It's just a lower energy thing that you can throw on. I think Tyler has to decide if he's going to conceal or attach this turn. Just has the one fire energy in hand. And is going to concealed cards and draw a couple extra cards here.
We'll see what he can get. Hopefully a bit of a stronger setup than the last game, and there we see it.
Immediately into Squawkabilly. That is what you want to see. Squawkabilly is a card that has really fallen off this format in general, mostly because of turbo hands, meaning there's just way more iron hands running around. And if you play this against iron hands, it immediately gives up 3 prize cards, which is terrifying, but it is a very good card still. It's effectively a free supporter going first. Wow. Allowing you to discard your hand, draw 6 cards. Now, Tyler did have to discard some good cards there. The vacuum, not super relevant, but did have to get rid of an extra basin, so not ideal, but at least gets to draw some extra cards and is going to Ultra Ball for that Mew.
It's a classic high risk, high reward play whenever you have that Squawk ability, where it feels so good when you use it. It feels so good when you Squawk and Seize, but you often regret it later on.
And it is something that also synergizes very well with that Magma Basin, like we were saying. Just allowing you to discard more and more cards into your discard pile is always good when you have a lot of fire energy in hand. And, oh man, something super interesting about this list, too, is there's another card in here, a different supporter card called Silene. Which we
won
saw
him a game earlier.
Yeah.
Won him a game, I want to say it was round 2 or 3. He was able to Silene hit the double heads, and it gave him the 2 pieces he needed to be able to take that game home. It was an energy switch and I think a Magma Basin or something to that effect, but being able to Silene and then have cards like Entei with its fleet-footed ability to draw a card, or Mew with its restart ability to draw a few, Greninja, he has so many ways to just easily draw 1 or 2 cards. So Silene, a super powerful supporter.
Yeah, and Silene, basically the only card that can actually recycle these A-spec cards. There's very few cards that let you kind of bring those back, mainly like Roseanne's backup can bring back A-spec tools. And then, like, Darkrai VSTAR can get back A-spec items, but Silene can get back any card that you want from your discard pile. And again, another thing that just synergizes with discarding a lot of cards in general. You can just bring back whatever you need later with Silene. So maybe if Tyler needs that Magma Basin later, can just draw it.
Yeah, if you didn't already believe in the power of Silene, A-specs are only making it better with this format.
So yeah, Tyler gets a pretty strong bench position here. Not sure exactly what's in the hand right now. Probably just wants to get a hand attachment and then is good to go. So it's going to attach to the Gouging Fire. And man, just being able to 260 whenever you want is so scary for an Arc deck.
Oh, indeed. And yeah, Tyler putting on this pressure right away. You got to be shaken if you're Connor on that side, knowing that even if you're able to get off something like a Trinity Charge, you have a Gouging Fire staring you right in the face.
Mm-hmm. So did go with the Magma Basin and also attach to their Gouging Fire. So it is basically ready to go. Just one more attach and it will start swinging over on Connor. Can easily knock out this Arceus VSTAR if it stays in the active, which it kind of has to because it has to charge up. So very scary. There is one downside to the Blaze Blitz that we haven't mentioned is that you can't use it again until you leave the active spot, which is pretty different from a lot of attacks that have that same kind of downside. Things like Combustion Blast from Radiant Charizard, the way it's written is written differently. It's written, how is it exactly is it written?
So it's you can't attack on the next turn.
Right.
So with something like this, it could be multiple turns until you get out of the active, whereas Charizard, even if you can't find a switching card, you can reset it in a turn.
Yep.
But it makes a deck like Gouging Fire more prone to an Iono if you're not able to find that switch card and just having your opponent stick it in the active for an extended period of time. But it hasn't been a problem for Tyler so far today, sitting at 3-0, and man, I'll tell you, this is the first deck I'm going to be trying when I get home tonight.
Yeah, this is a super sick deck. Going very well here for Tyler here, staying at the strong 3-0 record. Decided to end the turn with just putting the Entei in active and Fleet Footing. I believe did have a extra switch card in hand. Silene can also recycle those switch cards too, which is pretty good. And I think that's the only switches in his deck. Oh, there's a Penny as well, which, not a switch, but lets you recycle stuff. Yeah.
See Connor shaking his head on this side. Maybe not feeling too confident about the rest of that hand, but at least has the double nest ball to get something going.
Yeah, this is a very scary thing for Connor, is not only is this Gouging Fire about to knock you out the next turn, but you also have no way to reliably respond to it. Whereas a lot of Arceus lists are running the maximum belt right now that lets you hit for 230 with the double turbo on for your Trinity Novas and can kind of one-shot these and respond at least to some degree. That's just not going to be an option here. So your only option is the Alolan Vulpix. So if Connor has a double turbo, at least a return knockout can happen. And if you can, Starburst for some sort of hand disruption, maybe you can cause enough of a brick to prevent another attack from setting up. But pretty good board state looking here for Tyler. And he's going to area here, actually. And gets a nest ball, unfortunate.
Yeah, staring Tyler's hand in the face, and you can't like to see that if you're Connor.
Yeah, so there wasn't a switch card. There was a Jet Energy. So that is
yet another way that Tyler is able to move that in and out of the active. And when your Entei's 3 retreat, it's not what you want to be having up there.
Connor now has to figure out how to proceed from here. Just did attach to the benched Arceus. Yeah, no double turbo. Very unfortunate. And we'll see how Tyler solidifies his position here. Is going to start with the concealed cards. Drawing 2 cards by discarding that fire energy. And has the jet energy ready to go for that gouging fire and is probably ending this turn with that knockout there.
Yeah, and Connor seemingly not too bad of a turn 1, but with 2 cards in hand, one of them's going to have to be an out to an Arceus.
Right. Yeah, oh man. Having to burn all those cards for that little is so tough. Hopefully something in the hand there, but also 1 Candy, 1 Pidgeot EX, 1 Arceus VSTAR prize probably makes it less likely. Is going to put 2 preemptively on the Arceus V. That
Tyler's
way when it
favorite card, Iron Valiant.
Iron Valiant, the Tachyon Bits ability. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense just to set it up for a Gouging Fire knockout later, because once it evolves into Arceus VSTAR, it'll 280 HP, minus 20, is a clean Blaze Blitz knockout. And there comes that Gouging Fire. Terrifying Pokemon. Man, it's hit so hard. It is kind of ridiculous how good this card is, especially considering how underplayed it's been in general until
it feels
recently.
Very overlooked. When the card dropped and the translations came out, a lot of people's immediate thought was, oh, maybe this is an accessory card in the Charizard EX deck. It can be, a one-of to get a little hit in, or a lot of people were saying it could be a way to get around Vulpix. Oh, and the Iono from Tyler, Connor is thrilled.
Yeah, it's always tough for those decisions because obviously your opponent has a small hand and probably doesn't have much going for him, but if you're trying to prioritize setting up your side of things, then it's more important. That
doesn't look much better at you. That does not look fantastic.
Connor does not look super
Connor.
thrilled either, yes. Yeah, honestly, looking at this list, it kind of makes me want to put Lumineon back in my Lost Box just to have an easy knockout on a lot of these fire Pokemon, because I should probably be scared of this list, honestly. We saw the Mag Basin go down on the Entei, so charging that up even more. And that Arceus V went down. Pidgey's going up in the active, so maybe Connor has that out to the Arceus V-Star.
Saw the Pidgeot in his hand. Maybe open a top deck. Irida can get Rare Candy.
Yeah,
or it can get Ultra Ball.
Huge.
That is absolutely the one card Connor wanted to see off the top.
Gives him a chance here. Now, so one thing that can potentially be relevant in this matchup, but is probably not going to be relevant here, is the Silvery Snowstar attack from Alolan Vulpix V-Star. Does 70 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon V in play. Now, unfortunately, there's only one in play for Tyler, so even with the double damage, it'll only do 140. It's not enough to knock these guys out.
That would have been so fun if you could have pulled that off. It would have been
hilarious. I think there is literally one Entei in the list already discarded the Delphox. There might be 2 Enteis, but yeah, not going to happen, and Tyler knows and is not going to play into that. So.
Yeah.
That would be the one way to kind of recover from a start like this.
You're in a unique format when you have to play around Slippery Snowstar or Silvery Snowstar. Sorry,
yeah.
There's nothing slippery about these Snowstars.
They get that Pidgeot EX out. Is quick searching, and yeah, I'm not even sure what you want to grab here to try to fix this position. You need to get that Alolan Vulpix attacking sooner rather than later. You need to not die. Unfortunately, it does also die to Blaze Blitz. You can hope that the Blaze Blitz Gouging Fire just gets stuck for a turn or two, but the odds of that happening with the amount of switches in deck, pretty low. Not going to happen.
Yeah, and Tyler has a decent-sized hand over there.
Exactly.
Can't quite tell right now if he has the out. It looks like there's a switch card, if nothing else.
All right, we are seeing the Starbirth come down here. 2 more cards coming for Connor.
Anyone who's been playing Pokemon over the past few years will have heard Starbirth several times.
Starbirth for double colorless energy and switch.
Well, not necessarly. The switch isn't needed with Pidgeot.
It's usually double turbo and Iono or something is the classic combo.
But I played the Irida this turn.
Already played Irida, so I'm not even sure
what
you want to grab.
Maybe thinking a turn or two ahead at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, not having any other kind of healing options here for this Arceus just means that if you send it up, it will die. But you also kind of have to send it up to charge up. So your best bet might just be hoping he doesn't get knocked out next turn.
Yeah, I was mentioning this last round with Ryan, but it feels like one of those lose-lose situations for Connor.
Well, Prime Catcher, so at least Connor gets a knockout. So positive Mew VMAX, or Mew, that card's dead. Mew EX does knock out get knocked out precisely by this Arceus VSTAR. Could also have gone for the Squawkabilly, but the Mew EX actually has utility, whereas the Squawkabilly is just kind of a dead card for the rest of the game. So it makes a lot of sense. At least Connor can keep up in this prize race, even though it did inadvertently reactivate the Blaze Blitz from the Gouging Fire.
Yeah, it's a give and take, and Connor presumably on the follow-up is going to be trying to target down something like an Iono and pair it with that Vulpix and potentially hope to stick Tyler in a rough situation. But Tyler also, if you look at Connor's side of the board, the only real threat for a one-hit knockout is that Vulpix.
Right.
Should Tyler be able to get some sort of gusting out, it could really just turn the tides of the game.
Yep, Silene already ready to go. Looks like I don't think there's any sort of gust in there.
Do we know if the Prime Catcher is in the discard for Tyler?
I don't think there's any reason it would have been. But we'll see. It looks like Earthen Vessel first on that research. Thinking about what to grab there. And we did see that Trinity Nova go down on the Alolan Vulpix V-Star. So it's charged up, ready to go, ready to roll.
Yes, the Prime Catcher is in the deck for Tyler, so that could be something he's digging for as the turn goes on, but the Silene will not be a way to get it back immediately.
Right. Yeah, and there's not much really to grab with the Silene in the first place, so we're just going to hold it for now. And we'll see how this turn plays out. Like you said, massive hand. Has a lot of options, but not the exact options, not the best options in hand at the moment.
Indeed. We'll see what Tyler ends up deciding to go with.
Starting with the Fleet-Footed, gets another energy. All these grass energies, by the way, which we haven't really talked about, is because this guy's also in the deck, the Iron Leaves. Helps with the Zard matchup, and also just 180 damage out of nowhere sometimes. Pretty good. And also, it's an extra switch. Kind of synergizes with Gouging Fire. You just play it down, goes back in the active, and then you just jet or switch back into your Gouging Fire, and you're good to go.
And Iron Leaves just so versatile in that switching effect. Even if you don't have those grass energies on board, if you're prioritizing Gouging Fire, it can move any type of energy to it with that rapid Vernier ability. It can be a jet energy we've seen today out of Tyler. It can be just about anything. So really just a solid option all around. And I'm surprised we haven't seen, with the synergy that these cards clearly have with one another, I'm surprised we haven't seen this idea explored too much beforehand.
Mm-hmm. So getting 2 Ultra Balls of the concealed cards, which is not what Tyler wanted to see. He has no switches, does he? Is that what happened? Did he flip Double Tail Silene too?
No, he has the one.
He has a switch card.
Yeah, there's a switch card
so
in his
hand. So at least a KO is happening this turn. But yeah, didn't play out the way Tyler wanted, and Tyler's not going to have a good response to this Alolan Vulpix V-Star potentially if can't get something else charged up soon.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he tries to target another Gouging Fire or something is what I would have to assume.
Right. Yeah.
We'll see looking through his deck, and Gouging Fire seems like the most plausible option.
Yeah, just got to actually get it charged up quickly enough here. He's going to grab the Moltres instead.
Perhaps
just to thin out and then
missing some counts. Oh, yeah. Thinning out makes a lot more sense.
Moltres, not going to be relevant in this matchup, almost certainly unless it's like a Lone Pidgey or something, but is a very solid card that is really useful in a lot of those low HP matchups like Lost Box. It was really useful last format. Tyler played a lot in Anti-Valiant, especially against Gardevoir. Just a really easy, weak attacker. Only needs the 1 Magma Basin, so you don't even need to use your attached return, and you just hit for 90 damage. Super easy.
Yeah, just having that small attacker is so nice, especially in a deck that is so 2 prize reliant. Being able to potentially throw your opponent onto an odd number of prize cards can really just make or break a game. And yep, there's the Gouging Fire that we were talking about.
So we'll see how much he can get charged up on it. He can Magma Basin and do a manual attach, and then just needs 1 more fire after that, I believe. I don't know if he has any fires in hand, but he has like 4 grass energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the grass. Yeah, just needs 1 more fire, which might be hard to get, honestly.
It does not seem to have a bunch of resources left. Perhaps there is one in the discard at the very least. Oh, no, it was from the Entei. I'm not sure if there's another one in there or not. But could even go into a play where he retreats and is able to Magma Base and should this active be knocked out.
Mm-hmm. Bravery Charm on the Squawkabilly. Actually, another thing that's super relevant there, being able to prevent that being knocked out super easily by an Arceus V-Star or even a Alolan Vulpix V-Star, which actually hits for 160 as well. So preventing those 2 easy prizes there, but not super relevant when you just 2-shot these fire Pokemon or 1-shot these fire Pokemon anyway.
We've reached the point of the game where Connor really wishes he had a hero's cape, but that is not going to be an option on his end of things. So presumably we're going to see some sort of an Iono and Prey, if I had to guess.
Yeah, this is such a tough spot because if you knock out any of these Pokemon, the fire and the loss is guaranteed, basically, because then the fire's in the discard pile, you Magma Base, and you're good to go. Now, unless you can Stadium up, obviously. If you can Stadium up, then you're okay, but I don't know if Connor has that available for him right now. What stadiums does Liz play?
It just plays the Lost Vacuum.
Just the Vacuum. Okay, so yeah, Vacuum is your only real out here. We'll see if we can get it.
I don't recall if it's been used already or not. I don't think it has.
I don't think it has, no. And does have the quick search to actually get it, so that's pretty much the best option here. He's going to Ayano here as well. Make things even harder for Tyler.
It's going to be a big 2 cards for Tyler.
Yeah, doesn't he look at him?
Looks like Magma Basin. And what is the other one? Couldn't quite get a look at the other one, but Magma Basin is one of them. So should Connor find that Lost Vacuum, all for naught.
Yeah, I think we just saw the quick search there, probably for that Vacuum.
It's a vessel.
It's a vessel?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Tyler, everything he needs right there in that hand, those 2 energy resources.
Jeez Louise.
Wow, you got to feel for Connor in a spot like that.
Yeah. Tough start that potentially could have been okay. Definitely played it correctly towards the end there. And it's just not going to matter because...
Yeah, he's just revealing the vessel.
Tyler just showing his hand already that it's over.
See if Connor plays it out just for clarity's sake. Perhaps Connor doesn't know necessarily the energy counts in such an odd deck that Tyler's gone with. Doesn't necessarily know if there's the resources left, but Tyler will just play it out and show him how that looks. Just needs to find a way to retreat and active. And
that's the only thing is if there's not energy in the deck, then does have to get a switch in order to actually do it because the Mew EX is gone. There's no free retreater on board.
I believe he put some on the bottom with, I might be mistaken. But Tyler's hesitating.
No, there's only grass. Grass is not enough.
No, I was thinking Magma Basin keeping the Gouging Fire on the bench and promoting something like a Squawkabilly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, and
that's just the size.
Right. Yeah. There's with any energy that you're fine there. So that's going to be it for Tyler going 4-0. Guaranteed. Well, it's already guaranteed, I think, pretty much for top cut now with the Ancient Box and Gouging Fire decks. Super cool to see someone who picked 2 decks completely different from everyone else in the room and do exceptionally well with them.
Tyler was the one who immediately stood out. When you look at all the decks, when you look at all the players, you're seeing, here's another Charizard, here's another Control, here's another Arctina, what have you. But then you look at Tyler's, and it's the only Ancient Box and the only Gouging Fire in the room. So
maybe they ended up being great meta calls, honestly. Just steamrolling a lot of the Lost Box decks and dealing with Arceus decks super easily as well, which is like half the room.
He's been impressing me all day with this stuff. Sure. It's been a sight to see.
Yeah. We're going to go do a winner's interview with Tyler in just a moment, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in a bit. Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to Chicago Clash. I'm being joined by Tyler Mathews for our winner's interview. You are now the lone 4-0 at the event, dominating the competition with 2 kind of... I don't even know the right word for it. Just kind of subversive deck choices for the event. These are 2 decks that have been picking up some popularity recently online, but haven't been super popular in general. But before we get into the deck talk, I just want to talk about general thoughts and feelings about the last round that happened.
I thought I was pretty favored into both the decks he brought, so I wasn't really worried at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there wasn't. I don't know. There was a couple of turns where it was like a little shaky. Like I need to hit an energy, and I usually hit everything I needed. But so that was really it.
Okay. Just hit everything. It's a
I guess
good
so,
strategy. Yeah. So kind of talking about your deck choices here. Like your 2 decks that you picked ended up being like such good meta calls for this event, where you kind of just counter so many of the random decks in the field. What decks are you actually like worried about hitting?
Chien-pao is actually kind of rough for Gouging Fire.
Right.
Depending like if they can like set up well enough. But like with a Delphox, I can maybe just like close them out early, like kill all their Friggies and just win the game. So I have like stuff, but it seems kind of rough.
Yeah. What was your thought process for bringing these 2 decks specifically for this event?
Honestly, I've been playing. I played a lot of Entei Valiant.
Right. Of course.
So Gouging Fire is like the next best thing right now. And then I had some friends like Jared. He like proxied an Ancient Box deck. And I just played his deck for a lot. So I'm like, only the deck I really played so far in this format. So I was like, I'll just make my own list and bring it.
Yeah, and we saw both lists packing that Flutter main too, which I'm sure did that put in a lot of work today.
Yeah, Flutter main's really good, especially against I played like Lost Box earlier and against like the Chien-pao decks. So I know I played Jared earlier and he He had the Poffin, but he needed to get a Ditto to get the chien-pao. But I started the Flutter
it
main.
blocks.
Yeah, so he couldn't Ditto. Yeah.
That's brutal. Yeah,
yeah.
that's tough. When you were making the decision to bring these two decks, like, did you even like think about like the meta in general, or just kind of these are the decks I've been practicing? I think they get to bring.
Well, I know like a lot of people here play Arc,
Yeah.
so I felt like that was pretty good. So like I know I could be Arc. I know I'm pretty good in Tina. And then like there was all this like control talk in the Discord, so I was like, I'm pretty good into control too.
Yeah,
so I was
all
like,
this control talk, and then two people bring control.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, like it happens, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I know you're not going to EUIC, but you are going to Orlando. How are you feeling kind of now that you're doing this event and you've been practicing a lot, testing rotation a lot? How are you feeling about the new format going into that event?
Better than I thought. At first I didn't really like it as much. Like
Yeah,
I'm
you
more
lost Ante Valiant.
yeah.
So
Like I'm actually more excited for like the set we get, like our next set, all the stuff revealed for that. So I want to play that format a lot. But like
What
this
are
one,
you
I'm
looking
like,
forward to
like the
for it?
Ogrepon stuff. I really want to play that stuff.
Okay.
But like, yeah, other than that, like, there's not much that I really liked this one. I mean, I guess I like one prize decks, so Ancient Box was like a thing. So
I wanted to ask a little bit more about Gouging Fire too, because that's a list that has kind of only really popped up super recently. I just won that event in Thailand a couple days ago. I think it was literally a couple days ago, and it hasn't been super represented online, but it seems like it just has answers for so many different things, and just 260 damage in general seems
it's a
really
lot.
strong. So what do you think like strengths and weaknesses of the deck are?
well, like I said, you can do 260 turn one, so that's really good. Like that knocks out almost all like EXs, all like basic EXs, I'll say. And then with the Valiant, you can do 280 basically.
Sure.
So you can kill VSTARs and those type of things. So that's really good there. So yeah, it can hit like hard and fast. I guess like the weaknesses are like a lot of times like the way I built the deck, I fill my bench a lot.
Yeah.
And like I don't really have like two ancient Pokemon, so like my Sadas aren't working as efficiently as I want to.
Sure.
But I'm like I need to like a lot of times you need to squawk the setup. Like you want the ninja to keep getting energies there, and then like I like the Mew because of free retreat and with the switch card and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
makes
it's
sense.
like it works. But like so I have like 3 spots left, and if I didn't start something I didn't like, so it can get rough there.
Yeah, you have a lot of different Pokemon in
Yeah.
general that all fill these different roles, and if you fill the wrong, or if you start something that doesn't have a role in that matchup, then it obviously feels pretty bad. Last thing, any shout outs you want to do? Where can people find you after the event, etc.?
You can find me on Twitter at Urtzub. It's URTZUUB.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess I'll shout out Jared because he's the one that convinced me. Well, I played his Ancient Box deck. So that's the reason I played it, because I had like some like reps with it. So
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. Congratulations on the 4-0 start. We'll see you again in Top Cut in basically a little over an hour from now. So we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching so far. We'll be back in just a few moments with our round 5 final match of the group stages.